So I'm going to be doing a makeup tutorial today, hence the lack of anything feminine going on here. I've had a lot of requests to do a video like this, and a fair few people messaging me saying that a makeup tutorial would really help out with their own look. And this is going to be quite an informative video. It's not going to be one of those makeup tutorials where it's all sped up to 5 times speed and there's a voiceover on top and you don't really get to understand any of it. And a lot of those tutorials will insist that you use very specific products to try and achieve a certain look. A little bit like you'll be using the eGlamour 20 Omega Dingleberry Pro Edition eyebrow brush. Now, if you cannot get this brush, then you're just going to have to deal with the fact that you're going to be fucking ugly. Yeah, none of that shit. I will be mentioning my actual makeup by name, but that's only so you have an idea of what you could get, as opposed to what you actually need. Most of the makeup I use is interchangeable and I've never really stuck with one brand, but if there is something that I use for a specific reason, then I will mention why I use that exact brand. So the first thing I need to do is just get rid of this beard. So there's a couple of bits I did off camera which you wouldn't really need to see, but I'm going to explain them anyway because they're really useful tips and you will thank me for it later. So the first is, once you finish shaving, get some aftershave and just throw it all over everything you've shaved. And the reason you do this is because when you shave, it opens up all the pores around your chin and your neck, but by putting on aftershave you're closing those pores, so then when you put makeup on you're not putting oil and grease inside the pores. And it doesn't really make a difference to putting your makeup on, but it does make a difference later on, and you'll thank me when you don't have like a face full of spots. And don't worry about the smell either, because the second thing you're going to do is give your face a complete clean. Get a flannel, get some soap and just scrub the whole face to get rid of any oil, any grease, anything that might affect putting on makeup. And with that out of the way, we can get onto the actual video now of, putting on makeup and having a tutorial. Thanks for waiting so long. So the first thing I usually do is I get some eyeliner and I just put it on the waterline, so just that little bit under your eye. Now the reason that I do this first is because I usually have to pull up my skin here and here, and that can smudge your foundation or your powder or whatever you've got on at that point. So it's best to get this on now rather than later. And all you want to do is pull down your skin just a little bit, just so you can get to the waterline, and just smear it on lightly. Doesn't have to be too hard. Just go all round. And it's best if you do this lightly rather than hard, because if you do it lightly you can just go over it again if you need to, whereas if you do it too hard you might put on too much, or you might make your eyes start watering, and that's not overly pleasant. And I'm just going to go over this one a little bit more because it looks a little bit too light. I apologise now for everyone who doesn't like their eyes being touched. And that's what it should look like for now. So it's not making the biggest difference, you can see it a little bit, but it will make a much bigger difference when we move on to the eye makeup a little later. So this was using a Technic eyeliner, but you can use any brand you like and they do thousands of different colours. I always go for black, sometimes I get a white just for the insides of the eye, but it's up to you really. And once that's done, you can leave the eyes for now and move over to the canvas. So sorting out concealer, foundation, powder, all those kind of things. So to start out with, I'm using a concealer from Rimmel London. Now this is actually going to be used to cover my beard shadow, because while it feels quite smooth, I'm such a hairy git that it shows up anyway. And all you want to do is start giving yourself war stripes around where your beard would usually be. Just like that. And don't forget to do the neck with this as well, because again, if you're like me and you have quite a heavy beard, it's quite likely that you've got beard shadow down here too. Now you could stop there, but I usually have to do under my eyes as well, as they're darker than the rest of my skin. So I actually cover my whole face with stripes from this. If this doesn't scare you, then nothing will. Now once you've covered what you want to cover, you can just start blending, and the best way I've always found to do it is by using your fingers. So I'm just going to start with the beard and just start rubbing it in. You can already see it's making the skin so much lighter. Move around to this side. Go for the neck. So I've blended it all in now just by using my fingers, and as you can see the skin is still all one tone except a little bit up here. I need to add some more there, and the beard shadow's gone, so it's already done its job. Now you don't necessarily actually have to do this step. This is just if you have a heavy growing beard or if you have quite dark hair, it's not actually necessary for everyone, but I recommend everyone learns how to do it anyway. Now, you can use liquid concealer and some people do prefer it. However, I would recommend if you're starting out to use the stick instead, because it's just a lot easier to manage. And that's all there really is for concealer for the time being, so we're going to move on to foundation now. Now, like the concealer, you can use a liquid, however I prefer using a cream instead, as it applies a bit thicker and is easier to manage. And for it, I'm using Gosh Foundation Plus in 002 colour, which is important because if you do change what foundation you use, remember the colour, because it'll be the same across the board. And to apply it, I'm going to be using my butt plug sponge. I don't feel like I need to explain why I call it a butt plug sponge. So I just give it a bit of a swirl in the foundation, just to get it on there, and then I start padding it on. And I usually start on the cheekbones to help with the highlighting, but we'll get to that a bit later. Now, some people recommend that you do a stroking motion. However, I find you get a better spread and it stays on better if you do padding. And if you need to top up, just swirl again. And also don't forget to get your neck in this, because you still need to even it out a bit, although you can do a bit of a more stroking motion on your neck. And I'm covered. Now you can use the top bit there to kind of get in the nooks and crannies around the eyes, but most of it you're going to be doing with the bottom and just padding and occasionally down here stroking on. Now before you move on to doing the powder or the highlighting or the contouring, anything like that, you want to get yourself a blow dryer or a fan, set it to cold and just dry your face off. So I've just done that on mine and the makeup is now a bit more set, so when I start applying more to the face, it's not as likely to smear, which means I can now move on to doing the powder. So for that, I'm using Maybelline New York Matte Maker and I'm using a brush. It looks a bit like this, it'll be a bit thick on the top, and that's about all you really need for it. And all you're going to do is just get your brush in there a bit, and again, start padding it on the face. And you can't really see it in this video because my phone camera is a bit crap, but what that's done is it's kind of taken away that greasy, shiny look, and it's made it very matte looking instead. And that's all you need for powder. So we're going to move on from powder and we're going to go for the contour and highlight, which I'm using Barry M. Now I will say this immediately, I would get a bigger contour palette than that. There's not much there. And for this you can use the same brush. I've got a different one just because I don't like to cross-contaminate, but it's the same style. And if you can also get a brush that's a bit like this, so a little bit flatter. So you're going to get a little bit of one of those ones, so the middle kind of like this one, just a little bit on your brush if you get too much, and just start drawing a line from there down to there while sucking in your cheeks. And you're going to end up with something a bit like that. Now in the mirror that looks blended, but on the camera it doesn't, so I'm going to blend it a little bit more with a different brush just to really mix it in. There we go, that's a bit better. So like I said, just from the sideburn down there in a kind of circle motion, you're sucking your cheeks like, and you just follow that line up. Now the reason you do this is because it helps bring the cheekbones in a bit. However, for me that's not enough, I need to bring the jawline in as well. So I'm going to do that now. So this is where the flat brush comes in handy. You get the same colour, you can use the darker one if you want, but I always go for the same one. And just start drawing along your jawline from ear to ear. And it should end up looking something like that. Just a line going across your jaw. And again, if you have a spare brush, now's the time to use it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to start just blending down. You're not going to go across, you're not going to go up, just down. And this will take a while, so don't be too concerned when it hasn't happened within the first 5 seconds. Now I've only been blending that for about a minute or so, so not that long, but you can already see how much of a difference it's making. Because those two bits there, you'd assume are shadows when you're looking at me, but that's actually the contour. Now this is with an extra couple of minutes of blending, and it's nearly done. If you get to this point and you're just kind of wanting to finish it, then this is when you can start doing side to side. Don't go up still, try and go in little circles. Now that's the bottom half of the face finished, so the jawline now looks smaller and the cheekbones are a little bit more pronounced, but we need to add highlighter. But we're going to do the top half of the face contour first. Now I'm going to do the nose now. Now you can get a brush like this, but what you want to do is once you've got the contour on it, squidge it down and use it like that to create a kind of line effect. Or you can get a brush like this that is already flat. And you're just going to take a little bit of the same colour and just go down the side of the nose, very lightly. And you should end up with two lines kind of coming from nearly the eyebrows down to the bottom of the nose, just like that. And again, get your other brush, start blending them. And once it's blended, it should look a bit like that. So the nose looks a little bit more defined and a little bit more shadowed on both sides to make it a bit thinner, which is great for me because my nose is huge. And that's pretty much all I do for contouring. Now you can go around the hairline using the darker contour as well, but because my wig's got a fringe, I don't actually need to, so I never bother, and I wouldn't be able to tell you how to. So we're just going to move on to the highlight instead. So you can use the same brush that you use your powder for. This should be fine. Give it a quick rinse or a quick brush off. I usually do that on my wrists. And just get your lighter colour now. And the places you want to highlight are your cheekbones, so just above where you did the contour earlier. On your chin just a little bit. And a kind of like Y shape here. Now I prefer squidging the brush up a bit just to get a nice line. And you don't need too much, to be honest. You can do the whole thing with just one go. And you don't need to worry too much about blending because it should be a similar colour to your powder. And that's everything for the base layer. So you've done your concealer, your foundation, your powder, and your highlight and contour. So now we can move on to the more interesting bits of eyes and lips. So the first thing I'm going to do now is finish off the bottom of the eyes. So we did the eyeliner earlier and I've just topped it up a little bit just to get the black back on. And we're going to do just under the eyelash as well. So you want a brush that looks like this, really fine tip, and you want to get some black eyeshadow. So I've got that. This is all Makeup Academy, but again, any black eyeshadow will do. And all you're going to do is get a bit of black on there and go right where the eyelash is, from about here on the eye, about the middle, maybe just a little bit to the centre of it, and just drag it over. Now you don't have to do this, and a lot of people don't. However, my best look for my eyes has always been a smoky eye, and I always found it looked better with a bit of black underneath to make the eyes look bigger. And after that, you're going to do a similar trick on the inside of your eye, but with white, or at least a light peach colour to match your skin, to kind of highlight this area of your eye. So just take the same brush and clean it off on your wrist. I mean, you'll get a smudged wrist, but it's so much easier to clean off here. And then do exactly the same just on the inside of your eye. Maybe pull it down just a little under the black. Just like that. Now at the moment it looks a little bit two-tone, so what you're going to do is you're going to get a nice shadow brush, looks like that, and you're just going to, again, blend it in on both eyes. And you're going to do this by just brushing it sideways. You don't want to go down because it'll make you look like you've got panda eyes where the black will smudge, and you can't go up because your eye's there, so don't do that. Now some people do their eyebrows by drawing them on, but mine are already quite full from just being hairy. So I just get something like this, just a small comb, and I just brush it upwards, like that. And already, all I've done is brush it, and that one's unbrushed, that one's brushed. And you can already see a clear difference between them. And just to finish off the eyebrows, you want to get a little bit of highlight under there. So again, same brush, wipe on your wrist, so on and so forth. Get a light nude colour, and just draw under it, just right under the eyebrow. Now this shouldn't be too noticeable. You're not trying to draw a bright white line under your eyebrow. You can if you want, but I prefer just having a nude lighter touch so you won't see it too much. What it will do though is if you're doing a smoky eye or some other kind of elaborate eyeshadow, then it will define between the eyeshadow and the eyebrow, which is really helpful. Now if you're anything like me, eyeshadow might be a problem because I've got hooded eyes, so you can't actually see the eyeshadow when my eyes are open. So the best bet to do there is just be really subtle with it. I can show you how to do that. So again, I'm using the Makeup Academy. This is called the Elysium palette. It's just got a few neutral colours in there. Just taking one, it's a kind of like neutral pink colour. And all I'm going to do is just apply it to the eyelid. You can see it there. Doesn't really show up too much, but you don't really need it to. Go with the other side. There we go. Now what I've done here is I've also gone right in the crease with it, and that'll actually bring it up above your eyelid. So while it's like this, it might look a bit of a mess. Don't worry, we're going to sort it in a second. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take the same brush as you used your powder and your highlight for, and you're going to start just blending on the eyelid. And then the colour you put just under your eyebrow should blend right into the colour of your eyeshadow. and it'll end up looking something like that, and that was from maybe 20 seconds of going over it with a bigger brush. Now what you can do here to get a really good smoky eye effect is go over just the lower part of the eyelid with a darker colour of the same colour. So I've put on pink, so I'm going to go over it with a darker pink. So you're just going to take a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit, and just go along the lower part of the eyelid. You don't want it going on too thick, you just want to blend it in. And just to finish it off, you're going to go over the top part of the eye with your eyeliner, so you can use liquid or you can use pencil. Personally, I actually use the black eyeshadow again with this little trusty brush. And you're just going to start on the inside right at the very end and just drag it along above the eyelash. And you can do a wing here, but if you're doing smoky eye like I am at the moment, I'd recommend against it. And that's your finished eye, or at least it's my finished eye. So I'm just going to do the same with this eye so they both match, and then we can move on to the lips. And that's the eyeshadow finished. So if I close my eye, you should see how it's going from dark and gradually getting lighter. So normally I'd put fake eyelashes on, but I'm not going to today. I'm just going to move straight to the mascara. So again, for the mascara, I'm using Technic, but any mascara will do. You can get it in multiple colours. I always get it in black because I've tried different colours on my eyelashes and they always make it look a bit off, especially since I go for quite a dark eye. And all I do to apply it is I just nestle it in my eyelashes and just blink. Just like that. And then you can start just pulling it up and shaping it a bit if you want, but that alone should be enough really. And again, you can see the difference from where I've done this eye and that eye. And if I was wearing fake eyelashes, there would be an even bigger difference. And to do the lower eyelash, just go really gently on the lash itself. You don't want to go too hard because you might start leaving smudges on your skin and you basically have black marks around here. Now at this point you're probably thinking you still look like a guy, which is true, but I don't start looking like Jess until the wig goes on, and that is quite literally the last thing to go on. So to start with the lips, I'm just going to take a lip pencil, and this is Makeup Academy, this is Berry Wine Colour. I'm just going to outline where I want my lips to be. And when I say outline, I mean actually fill it in too. So make the shape of how you want your lips and then fill in the insides. So it is just a case of dragging it over until you get the shape you want. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I haven't done my whole lip, and I'll show you why now. And this is also the bit where you go, oh come on Jessica, I know how to put on lipstick. You don't, believe me, because you take a brush, and I'm not kidding here, you use a brush. Fine tip, look how many times I've used that. It's stained with the colour of this lipstick. You get a brush like this because you're using it for lipstick, and you just smear it on there a bit. By the way, I'm using MAC lipstick. This is Diva, appropriate as always. You're going to use this to outline where you want your lips to be. So you're not filling this time, just outline. I usually go a little bit above the lip and a little bit below just to make them look a bit fuller. There we go, so that's the start. You can see where I've just gone above. You're just going to slowly drag it out to the side as well. Make sure. There we go, that's filled in. Now I always do mine to look like they're pursed first and then kind of pull out at the sides, but if you want to, you can just fill the insides now, and that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll pull it out at the sides afterwards. And this is the bit where you actually know what to do. You just apply a lipstick as normal, just keep inside the lines you've already made, don't ruin those. As you can see, I filled it in, but I've gone a little rough on the bottom, so I'm just going to take the brush and I'm just going to fill it in to make it look like a smooth line. And to finish off, I'm just going to pull it out slightly. So what you do here is you just pull it up to your actual where your mouth would be and just kind of line it out so it looks like it's curving with your mouth. And with any luck, it should end up looking like this. So that's the actual makeup all done. So I'm just going to go put the wig on now and probably change into a dress, and then I'm going to come back and you'll see the finished product. And it ends up like this somehow. So like I said earlier, when you put the wig on, it makes the world of difference. Plus I'm actually wearing a dress and I've got this choker on now, so I'm actually starting to feel a bit feminine too. And this is the full makeup I would do when I was going out somewhere, as opposed to the makeup I would usually do for videos, which is significantly less, but maybe more detailed in a certain area. So I hope this has been informative. I hope people really enjoy actually seeing me go from start to finish, and I'm sorry this video's probably not been as humorous as some of my others. I did want this to be informative, and it looked like it was going to be quite a long video, so I decided it would probably be best to take the humour out just to make it a bit quicker. But that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching the video. I know it's been a bit of a slog, and I really appreciate you sticking through to the end. If you do have any suggestions for videos you think I should do, send them through to me however you can, and eventually they might get made. And you know the drill by now. Comment, like, subscribe, do everything you can to fill my ego. And remember, who set the world on fire? Not me, because I spent the last 5 hours doing makeup and I have not had time to set shit on fire. Bye.
Can't look back and run from what I feel inside. There's no more